Hi, my name is Cece, and on behalf of Scrapbooks on Trial, welcome to another Tutorial Tuesday. This week we're coloring an embossed image, a dry embossed image, using a watercolor technique as well as the big brush pens. And here are the supplies you'll need to create the project. The image for our card today will be embossed with an embossing folder, and the folder comes from the Beatnik Bouquet set by ISRC, and we're going to use this Beatnik Bouquet folder. To color our image, we're going to use the two medium. We're first going to use the big brush pen by Faber-Castell, and I'm going to list on the screen the colors that I'm taking. We're also going to do some watercoloring, and for this I grabbed a set of the green watercolor pencils by Faber-Castell. And I love these sets because they give you not only the greens but as well as blue and a gold one. And included in the kit you have a fine tip brush for watercoloring. So I'm going to be using the same brush, and I also am using the collapsible cup for my water by Faber-Castell. For the sentiment, I'll be using Thinking of You from Hero Arts, and the stamp set is called Everyday Sayings. We'll be stamping our sentiment with jet black archival ink. I'll also be using the pearl pen in Ice White by Viva Decor. If you don't have the pearl pen, a good substitute would be the White Opal Liquid Pearls by Ranger. As for the cardstock, our card base this week is going to be 5 by 7, so I have a piece of white cardstock that measures 10 by 7, and I folded it in half at the 5-inch mark. I have a piece of green cardstock that measures 5 5/8 by 4 3/8. A piece of watercolor paper that measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which happens to be the size of the embossing folder that we're going to use. And also it would be good to have an extra piece of watercolor to swatch your pencils on. And of course you're going to need your personal cutting system. It is also good to have a paper towel handy. Let's get started. I'm going to start by embossing my piece of watercolor paper using the Beatnik Bouquet folder, and I'm going to align this exactly on each side, meaning the top and the two sides. The folder is made specifically for an A2 card, so your piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 watercolor paper will fit right into it. And now I'm going to run this in my machine. And there's our piece of watercolor paper, beautifully embossed. So now I'm going to start coloring the image, and we're going to color the raised portions first. And for this I'm going to use the big brush pens. Now the secret to doing this without too much fuss is to remember to use the big brush pen parallel to the paper. So I'm kind of almost at 90 degrees against the paper, and it's just rubbing over the area that you want to color. So I'm going to start with my pink, and the brush will automatically hook up to the raised portion, and if you're careful you should not have any marks on the actual surface, on the debossed surface. So I'm going to do the other pink one. So essentially I'm rubbing my marker like this on the paper using the fatter portion right here. I'm going to do this one here. There are 3 little pink flowers. And once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. And don't worry if you get some marks on a different portion of your raised image, because we're going to blend everything together. This will be covered by green, so it won't show really in the end. And I think I'm going to do this one here. Right here. So I've got my pinks. And I'll also do the center of this flower in pink, right up to the outer portion. Like this. Actually, I'm going to add a bit of that pink right here. Right in the middle of my flower. Okay. So now we're going to go with the yellow. And as you get more used to this technique, you can go pretty fast. Now I'm going to reach for my second value, which is actually green gold. I just want to put some at the base of the stamen, just so that I have a little blending going on. And then I'm going to go over my yellow again just to blend everything. And these, the big brush pens blend beautifully. I love them. See how that blended properly? Let me get a close-up on this. Oops. See how gorgeous that is? It's almost like a seamless blending, which I love. Okay. And now I'm going to go with the orange of our flower, which is pretty much the rest of the flower. And now I'm going to move to the green. Now I have two values of green, and I'm going to start with the lightest one, of course. And you see what I mean by not being worried about walking a color into other areas, because, you know, in the end it really won't matter, because everything will have that beautiful blended watercolor look. Look at that! How gorgeous is this blending? I love it. And it is definitely seamless. So the big brush pens on watercolor paper, blendable to the max. Love it. Alright, so now that we're done with the big brush pen, we're going to have some fun with the watercolor pencils. Okay, so at the watercoloring part now. There are different methods of watercoloring, and you just have to experiment to see which one works best for you. What I'm going to show you is something very easy. So here's what I do. I will first identify the area where I want the color to go on. I take a brush and I load up some water in that area. And you won't be able to see properly because this is, oh, here, you can see the water, right? Okay, so, and then what I do is I either scribble on a piece of paper, dilute the actual crayon or pencil, and then I'll just dab in that area. And what will end up happening is that the color will stay within that puddle of water that I put down. The other way you can do this is making your puddle, same as I did before, but instead of scribbling on a piece of watercolor paper and then picking up the paint with your brush, I just lift the color and I load my brush directly from the pen, and you'll see that the color is a lot more intense, just because here it's more concentrated than what you did on your paper. Like this. And you'll notice that I'm not going like this, back and forth. I'm just letting the color and the water do their things. You see, if I just apply the paint red in the middle, it'll get dispersed throughout the whole area. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to color the image. I'm going to bring that back, and I will probably speed this up. I do apologize. I needed to change my battery and I forgot to turn on the camera. So you've missed part of this. I'm going to let this dry and then I'll show you the final result. So there's the dry card. Actually, I'm going to put it on a black background so that you can see it better. So as you can see, the background has got that beautiful mottled effect, and so I'm just going to get in closer so that you can see the actual water lines right here. So this is where I had more water, or that I went back and applied more water to it, so it created like sort of like little delimitations, and I love the way it looks. This is, to me, this is like what watercolor should look like. A little bit splotchy, with gorgeous pops of colors here and there. I really like how it turned out, and I love watercoloring. And like I said before, I don't have any background in watercoloring. All that I did was practice and played with it, and this is how it should be for you. Just play with it and have fun, and you'll be amazed at the results that you get. So I can now put the card together. I'm going to keep it simple because we have a busy image, but the card will be very simple to put together. Alright, so one last thing before I call it a day. I want to put a little bit of an accent on these three little flowers. For this I'm going to use the Ice White Pearl pen. If you don't have the Ice White Pearl pen, a good substitute is the White Opal Liquid Pearls by Ranger. And I just want a little dab in the middle of each, or where the white portion was. There we go. That's just going to bring them to the foreground. And that's it. Now, the technique that I used in today's video is one that Denise taught yesterday for the make and take, and it's also repeated this coming Thursday. So if you would like to try your hands at this before you buy any of the supplies, go ahead and call the store, or better yet, come in and reserve your spot. It's only $3, and you get to go home with a finished card. As usual, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and I will see you next week. Bye!